السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. So inshallah we continue the final chapter of Prophet Ibrahim from his story. We mentioned his young age, we mentioned his testing with his son and as a young boy, and him building the Kaaba together with his son. So inshallah we continue. Prophet Ibrahim now at older age. His son Ismail, we already discussed that he's in Mecca. They built the Kaaba together. So this is Prophet Ibrahim is with his wife Sarah, and they're both very old in age. And at this time, Prophet Ibrahim received guests, and he received these special guests. These special guests are just regular people who came to Prophet Ibrahim, and he gets ready for them, invites them in. When they come in, Prophet Ibrahim start to prepare for them a meal, as being a good guest, as a prophet that he is. And he gets a calf for them, he cooks it, gets it ready, and he brings it for them to eat. And he places food for them and so on. And he noticed that they're not reaching to eat from this calf that he had prepared for them. So Prophet Ibrahim is not sure what to make of this. Why are these people not eating? So he gets scared from them, not sure what they are. So they told them that we are angels sent by Allah. We are sent to Lut. And Lut is a prophet. Prophet Lut is the nephew of Prophet Ibrahim. They have traveled together, migrated together. Remember when we said that Prophet Ibrahim had migrated with his wife Sarah? There was someone else migrating with them, which is Prophet Lut, his nephew. He had stayed in a different city. Allah sent him to call the people of his city to Islam. And there had been an issue, of course, with these people. They refused to accept Islam and so on. So Allah sent these angels to go and destroy the people of Lut. So they came to Prophet Ibrahim first, and they sat down with him, and that's when he prepared the meal and so on. And they told him, "Don't be scared. We are here. We're coming to Lut, Prophet Lut, to bring the punishment upon his people." And they also give the Prophet Ibrahim good news. What is this good news? The good news that he's going to have a child, that there is a boy going to be given to Prophet Ibrahim. And Prophet Ibrahim, his wife was listening, his wife Sarah was listening, and she was amazed at this, because she's like, we're both old in age, and I am unable to bear children, because Allah made Sarah, the wife of Prophet Ibrahim, unable to have children. She said, how is this possible? My husband, meaning Prophet Ibrahim, is old in age, and I cannot have children. So how is this possible that I will have a child? So they told her, this is what your Lord had willed. And Prophet Ibrahim ends up, his wife ends up having a child, and that child is going to be Prophet Ishaq. Prophet Ibrahim is going to live to about 200 years old, and that's after that he's going to die. We don't know much about the other events in Prophet Ibrahim's story. So up to that, that's it. So now we're going to move on the continuation of the story, which is the nephew of Prophet Ibrahim, and that is Prophet Lut. So we're gonna now moving on to the link to Prophet Lut. So remember, we said these angels are coming to bring punishment to the people of Prophet Lut. First, let's give a little bit of background about Prophet Lut and what's the situation with his people. So Prophet Lut, when he traveled, as we said, him and Prophet Ibrahim and the wife of Prophet Ibrahim, which is Sarah, they traveled together. And Prophet Lut, after that, was sent to the specific people that he was sent to a special city by himself. And Prophet Ibrahim and his wife Sarah were sent to a different city. So two separate cities. The city that Prophet Lut was sent to was very unique and special. In what sense? It had people that worship idols, but it wasn't just that they worship in idols. They were also doing some very illicit act. That is, they stayed away from marrying men marrying women, but it was men marrying men. And that was something. So this is the homosexuality action, which is obviously happening today in a large scale. These were the first people to ever do such a thing, right? So man marrying another man. These were the first people to ever do such a thing. And these are the people that Prophet Lut was sent to. And he was sent to these people, calling them to Islam and calling them to stop doing these actions and to stop disobeying Allah and return back to Him. Of course, in the beginning, they're rejecting, they're not accepting what Prophet Lut. He would go around speaking with them and tell them that this is an evil action that you're doing. You're want men only want men, right, and leaving the woman behind. It's like you guys are doing a sin that no one had ever done before. This sin that you're doing, this action, this very bad action you're doing, is an action that no one had ever done before. How could you do such a thing? So, but nobody listens to Prophet Lut. He's not able to convince them. He stands with them, he talks to them, he moves from an area to an area, speaking with the people, but his voice is not reaching them. They're not really listening to him. He brings his own daughters to him and tells them that he are my daughters. If somebody wants to get married, you can get married to females, right? And stop doing this action that you're doing, right? Male marrying another male, that cannot be happening. That's a disobedient to Allah. And they continue to not listen to him and reject his message. At this time, Prophet Lut had warned these people about the punishment of Allah, but they did not care. At this time, Allah had sent the angels that we talked about that came to Prophet Ibrahim. So they first come to Prophet Ibrahim to give him the glad tidings of having that child that's he's going to have, which is Prophet Ishaq, that Prophet Ibrahim is going to have. And they also say to him, we are here to bring the punishment for the people of Lut. That's why we're here. So after they visit Prophet Ibrahim, they go to Prophet Ibrahim, they end up going to Prophet Lut. When they go to Prophet Lut, they come in. Once they come in, and these angels came in the form of human beings. In case you're wondering, how come Prophet Ibrahim did not know that they were angels in the beginning? Because they didn't come in the form of angels, they came in the form of human beings. And the angels have this ability, the ability of reshaping. So they reshaped into human beings, and that's how they came to Prophet Ibrahim. And that's how they're coming to Prophet Lut now, form of human beings. The people of the city saw these human beings when they came to Prophet Lut. They did not really know that they're angels, again, because they look like regular humans, right? So they came in, they talking to Prophet Lut, letting them know about what's going to happen and the destruction that is coming for these people. At this time, the people of the city start to gather in front of the house of Prophet Lut. Why are they coming to the house of Prophet Lut? They're coming because they want to destroy. They want to take these people. So they about to destroy the door and just take these men, these angels, men that came because they came in the form of a human being, men. So these people liked these angels. They looked very beautiful, so they wanted them, right? They wanted it. They liked them and they wanted them. So they come and and notice here that it seems that Allah had sent these angels in the form of a human being, men, to test and try all these people, right? To see what they would do. And sure enough, of course, they're desiring them and they want them and so on. So they come in and they're knocking at the door, they get aggressive, for Prophet Lut to come out. Prophet Lut comes out and he's asking them what they want. And he say that you know what we want. Give us these men that came to visit you. You say, I can't do that. I told you if you want to get married, you can marry my daughters, right? But you cannot I cannot give you these men. So they became extremely angry. At this time, these angels have told Prophet Lut, that's it. Your people are going to receive the punishment tomorrow. So they give instructions to Prophet Lut. The instruction was, you have take your family and leave before the morning. Okay, take your family and leave. Um, and his family consists of him and his daughters. There was also his wife, the wife of Prophet Lut, but she was among the disbelievers. She never believed in the message of Prophet Lut. She never believed in Islam, and she was among the disbelievers. So they were instructing Prophet Lut leave in the morning. So he took his daughters and he left the house during the nighttime. And by the or throughout Fajr time, and by the morning, the punishment of Allah and the wrath of Allah have came down upon these people. What kind of punishment exactly they were receiving? Allah have given them an earthquake that was shattering everything, right? Cracking the earth open among them. Their houses are collapsing. Also, and He's sending this wind that was destructive for them. He sent also upon them. He made the sky rain upon them rocks, right? That destroyed them and destroyed the city even more. So He didn't even give them one punishment, but they received multiple punishments at the same time, right? And Allah told us in the Quran that things that became upside down, like that city as a whole became upside down. The destruction to these people was one of the most severe punishments that we know of that Allah had ever given to any people before. And Prophet Lut, him and his daughters were saved. And the whole city, as we said, was completely destroyed. Now, let's talk about the lessons that we learn here. This is the pretty much the story or the segment of the story of Prophet Lut that we know. Now, what do we know about this here, or what do we learn from this? First off, we see that the wrath of Allah upon these people when they have done such an action going against the way of Allah. Allah made men and women for them to marry, and then when they went against the nature that Allah had provided for them and the mates that Allah had provided for them, Allah have destroyed them in such a destruction that was extremely severe. Um, Also, we see here from the beginning with the story of Prophet Ibrahim, how he treated his guests, right? Like when he came in, he doesn't know them, right? These were strangers. When he came in, he slaughtered an entire calf for them and roasted it and made it nice for them and provided food for them, even though he does not know them, which just shows us the how good we should be to the guests, right? And how well we should treat our guests. That's how Prophet Ibrahim was dealing with their guests, even though, again, he did not even know them. Just by having guests, he was trying to honor them and be good to them. As the Messenger ﷺ told us, whoever believes in Allah and the last day, let him honor his guests. Also, with the child that Prophet Ibrahim was given. Um, Medically speaking, if you find a person at a very old age, old person, very old person, right? Maybe 70, 80 years old. And would you think that that person is able to have a child? Medically, even speaking, doctors would say to that person, you can't have a child, right? Or if there is a lady who cannot bear children, right? She been told by the doctor, you cannot have kids. But you see here in the story, they're told you're going to have a child. These angels are coming to tell them, get ready, you're about to have a child. The wife of Prophet Ibrahim, Sarah, she says, how is that? My husband is very old and I cannot have kids. I'm unable to bear children. How is this possible? So they said to her, this is what Allah wants. That's what Allah wants. If Allah wants, He'll make it happen, right? And that told us what? Even if the whole world told us that, oh, this can never happen. If you believe in Allah, you trust in Allah, Allah can change anything, right? Nothing is impossible for Allah, right? A person at a very old age and a woman that cannot have children were given a child because Allah wanted that, because Allah wanted that. So remembering this is very important. Also, we see here that the patience of Prophet Lut. How many people believed with Prophet Lut? Remember at the end, Prophet Lut was leaving the city alone, him and his daughters. Who believed with him? Nobody, only his daughters, nobody else. He didn't have anybody with him, right? It's very, very few people. So, what does that tell you? Patience. Prophet Lut was patient. He didn't, like, when he called these people and then they refused, he didn't just get tired of it and just left. Or he didn't stop calling them. He continued to call them to Islam. He continued to ask them to do good and to stop the evil that they're doing. He didn't give up. He trusted in Allah and he did his best. Right? And the Prophet ﷺ told us that on the day of judgment, there will be prophets like that. There will be a prophet who's standing, and behind them is only one, like the prophets on the day of judgment, they stand, and behind them, the people who believed in them. And so there is a prophet that behind them is a handful of people. Sometimes there's a prophet behind them is one or two people. And there is prophets that's going to have nobody. Nobody believed in them at all. Right? So the numbers don't really mean anything. Right? The person should trust in Allah. This is what Prophet Lut had done. Right? And at the end also, what happened to the city that disbelieved in Allah and insisted on doing the evil things? And Prophet Lut alone, this man that was roaming around the city trying to call them to Islam. At the end, who won and who lost? These people, all of them lost, big numbers, lost. And Prophet Lut and the believers with him, they are the ones who won. Also, we see here, Prophet Lut's wife, he lost his own wife. How come he lost his own wife? He could not make his own wife a believer. Why is that? Because you can't make people believers. You can't make the people that you like believers. I like my son, I like my daughter, I like my mom. I want to make them a believer. You don't control that. You don't control that. The guidance is in the hands of Allah. So if somebody is misguided, you can't help it. You can only help by calling them to Islam, by trying to show them the right way. But you can't make anybody anything, including your own immediate relatives. Prophet Lut was a great teacher. He's a prophet. It doesn't get better than that as a teacher. But he could not bring his wife to Islam, and he left without her. Also, that shows us that where is Prophet Lut's loyalty? Was his loyalty to Allah, or was it to his family members, like his wife? It was to Allah. He chose to leave her behind and to let her get destroyed because he chose Allah. He chose the path of Allah. So he left her behind. That's a hard choice, right? And we need to make choices like that in our lives, just like Prophet Lut. Okay. Also, we see that Prophet Lut had to migrate a couple of times. The first time he had to migrate with Prophet Ibrahim and Sarah, and so they left the city of disbelief and moved on until he came to this city, calling these people to Islam. And also, we see him when it did not work out with these people, he's leaving again, and the city is getting destroyed and so on. But you see that Prophet Lut doesn't care for anything. All he cares about Islam is first. So he goes to whatever he can practice Islam, whatever Allah tells him to go. And that's what a submitter is. Islam means what? Submission to Allah. That's what you see with these prophets here. That's what they're doing. They're submitting to Allah. Uh, so inshallah, we'll pause here with the story of Prophet Lut, and we'll pick this up next time, inshallah, with a new prophet. We ask Allah to make us from the followers of the prophets and to make us from those who hold tight to his religion. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.